I'm standing up in this video because you know what? Space is fun. Look at all this movement I can do. Hello lovely people. How are you today? It's my February book reviews time. I will be reviewing the books that I read in February. I read 5 books, somehow. I read 5 books. I'm quite proud of myself. The first book that I read in February was To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I was told to read this by literally every single human being on this entire planet. My English teacher was like, read it, read it. It's a courtroom drama. You love courtroom dramas. And I was like, yes, I do love courtroom dramas. You love it. And I was like, okay. So I went into this thinking, oh, it's going to be like Witness or Prosecution, or Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, or The Anatomy of a Murder, or even 12 Angry Men. No, it's not. It's not a courtroom drama. I was lied to. I was deceived. This isn't a courtroom drama. They're in a courtroom for like 50 pages near the end. That's the courtroom drama. Whenever you see stills from the film Gregory Peck, they're always in a courtroom. This isn't a courtroom drama at all. I was so sad. But yet, this is still a great book. It's To Kill a Mockingbird. Of course it's a good book. It sold 30 million copies. I can't even conceive of that number. I swear to God, I was speaking in a southern accent for like a month after reading this book. I sounded like Paula Deen, but with so much less racism. My only problem with this book is that it takes forever to start. It's like, oh yes, she's talking about the summer she had, and then something happens, and she went to school, and the Dewey Decimal System, and I'm like, oh my God, when you fucking start? And it took a while to start, it took a while to get into. That's my only reservation about this. Otherwise, pretty great book. The next book was Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. This is Charles Dickens' second novel, and book 2 of my year of Dickens. Guys, look how short this is. This is 450 pages. You do not know how short that is for a Dickens novel. This is much more accessible, I find, in the Pickwick Papers, because Charles Dickens, right? He had this amazing idea. This was such a clever idea. He decided to have a plot. A plot, Dickens? My God, what an idea! That's blasphemous! How dare you have a plot in your novels? This is also filled with so many memorable characters that most people already know. I mean, you know Oliver Twist, you know Fagin, you know Sykes, you know Nancy, you know the Artful Dodger, you know Charlie Bates, and Charlie Bates, Dickens decides to call him Master Bates all the time through this novel, and I'm like, for fuck's sake, Dickens! Why? It's also quite ironic that he called this Oliver Twist, because he's not there. He's there for a bit at the beginning, and he's there for a bit at the end. The middle is just all about Sykes and Nancy, and a bit about Fagin, who isn't called Fagin at all. He's just called the Jew for the entire novel. Sykes is just such a Victorian villain. It's almost hilarious. He's so just boo hiss. He's so evil, and it's so Victorian, and it's so Dickens, and Down and Out in Paris and London by George Orwell. This is my first kind of non-fiction Orwell book, and oh my God, Orwell, what are you doing to me? This is basically Orwell being poor and living in poverty in Paris, and then going to London and being in poverty there as well. I said in my review on Goodreads that Orwell's view of Paris reminded me so much of, there's a French film called La Anne. You've probably seen it, it's really famous. And the thing about La Anne is that it was filmed in Paris, but it doesn't show any of the touristy parts. It doesn't show the Eiffel Tower, it doesn't show l'Arc de Triomphe, it doesn't show the Louvre. And it's filmed in black and white for that reason, because it wants to show the grittiness of Paris and on the streets. And Orwell's view of like the back streets of Paris and the slums and the poverty, it just reminded me they have similar views of Paris. This has totally started an Orwell binge in me. I've bought Keep the Aspidistra Flying because that's Orwell writing about everything he hates in society. And if there's 2 things I love, it's Orwell and hating society. I cannot wait. Orwell, I love you. Lord of the Flies, Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Flies. If I'm ever trapped in a desert island, I am so going to go into a position of power as fast as I possibly can. Oh my lord! This is like Robinson Crusoe, if Robinson Crusoe was fun, or enjoyable, or actually good. Oh my goodness gracious me, it's so barbaric, and it's so just unclean, and oh my God. Piggy. Oh, Piggy. Oh God! Oh God! Piggy! Seriously, if you read any of the books that I talk about this month, read this. Read Lord of the Flies. Oh my God! god! Far from the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy. If you're looking for a really slow read, guys, Far from the Madding Crowd. I swear, it doesn't pick up until like page 300. It's ridiculous. This reminded me just so much of the Luminaries. If I hear one more description of the night sky, I thought I was going to burst. Oh, and Bathsheba walked out into the field and she looked up at the night sky and that star was over there and the Big Dipper was in the sky and this meant that she felt happy. And then Gabriel Oak came down and he saw that the North Star was there, so he knew it was 4:30 in the evening. And oh my god, it was like, Jesus, oh my god, Thomas Hardy, what are you doing? His writing reminded me just so much of Dickens. It was unnatural. I was like, and because, you know, Dickens is very descriptive and Thomas Hardy is so descriptive. He's almost like Tolkien, he's that descriptive. Oh, when Sergeant Troy walked along the grass was dewy because at 7 o'clock the dew came along and the grass hadn't been cut for 7 years and that's why it was 38 centimeters high and it's seriously, it's Dickens in the fields, guys. It's Dickens in the fields. Those are the books I read this month. Yes. That's it. If you want to keep up with what I'm currently reading, you can either add me on Goodreads or follow me on Instagram. All I do on Instagram is just take pictures of what I'm reading. So please do that if you want to. I'm not forcing you into anything, I swear. And goodbye, lovely people. Until next time, I'm gonna go and have a collapse.